Hi there, everyone. Welcome back once again. I'm Petra. Today I wanted to do a new video, of course, on how the narcissists rob you of your identity. And before I get started on that, I just wanted to mention that I think I've said in previous videos that I have a history with narcissistic abuse, and I didn't realize it was narcissistic abuse when I was in the middle of it, and it's only recently that I have discovered what it is, what exactly I was dealing with. So I've had a couple of these relationships in my lives, my lives. I think I've only had one life. Oh, sorry about that. But anyway, or maybe I've had several. But anyway, getting back to the point, I was romantically involved with an overt narcissist. I would say about 23, 24 years ago, and after that, of course, in the workplace, I detected certain narcissists, or I can detect them now. I know what kind of behavior I was dealing with. And also in friendships, of course. But my husband, we've just recently discovered through my work on narcissism and through my own healing and through looking at all the traits of overt and covert narcissism and all, the whole spectrum of narcissism, we have recently discovered that he too was a victim of narcissistic abuse by his narcissistic mother. So he grew up in a home with a narcissistic mother, and he's been through a lot of therapy in the last couple of years. He's sort of done all the work, but he just didn't, or I didn't realize either, that we were actually dealing with a narcissistic mother and mother-in-law. And she has deceased. She passed away 8 years ago. But it has been such a journey for my husband, and he has finally started to come to terms with what was done to him as a child. And so the reason I'm telling you that story is that I'm going to, the couple of points that I've written down here again, I'm going to touch on that again, and just let you see how this sort of fits in all together. So I think it's so wonderful the way the two of us met, and we had a lot of conflict in our relationship in the beginning. We got to a point where we actually got a divorce, as I said once again in a previous video, and finally we found our way back together again. And now I realize what part of that getting back together was to heal each other from the narcissistic wounds that we endured. And excuse me, with him, it is still very much a part of him, because he has had to deal with this his whole life, getting over this abuse, or not getting over, that sounds so disrespectful, but coming to terms with the abuse. And for me, it was less traumatizing, maybe because of the dynamics in my past relationships and friendships. But of course, growing up as a child, from an early age, you are emotionally destroyed, really. So I'm so glad. I love you, baby. I'm so glad for my baby, for my husband, that he's coming to terms with this, and he's finding his own healing as well. And I think this is, also thanks to all the comments that you guys have written, all the emails that you've sent. He has been reading some of them, and it just so hit home with him, some of the stuff that you guys have also said. And he could really relate to a lot of situations. So thank you for contributing towards my husband's healing as well. Wow. Yeah. I think this is just wonderful. Um, Getting back to the topic, how the narcissist robs you of your identity. Once again, I've written down points and I'd just like to go through them and add some extra information to that, and hopefully you can relate to certain things. Of course, once the, when the emotional manipulation starts, they start grooming you. So they are preparing you to take you into their web of destruction. And with the grooming, they also disarm you and get your defenses down. So this is all part of the whole grooming, the whole love bombing stage, is to get you to put your defenses down. And when you have done this, they will proceed to go in and mess with your mind, intimidate you, manipulate you, break you down. And at some point they will get you to that certain place where they can go full-fledged attack. And then they remold you from the inside out. And this is especially with, once again, bringing up the topic of children. I mean, children are so easy to manipulate through narcissistic parenting. So they gradually change your belief system, moving back to the adults among us now. They gradually change your belief system. So all your values, all your good traits, all the stuff that you believe in is just totally turned around. So the self-doubt comes about, the feeling depleted, feeling distraught, distressed, feeling broken, not believing in yourself anymore. So your confidence is knocked down to zero. This is all part of reprogramming your belief system. So you will get to a point where you don't believe anything anymore. You just believe that you are a wreck. And sadly, in some cases, you do end up a total wreck mentally and physically. And at some point, you'll probably find yourself sometimes wondering which parts of your personality are truly yours and which parts have you created to fit the narcissist's approval. So that is a very important point to look into. What is, you've got to sift through all of the stuff that has been going on. What is your real, what is your authentic personality, and what have you manufactured in order to gain the narcissist's approval? Because once you are onto that, once you realize where you are acting from authenticity or from approval, that is when you can start backtracking and start rebuilding your identity from truth. The third point I have to make is, in reproducing or in reconstructing the way the narcissist reconstructs your belief system, is that they will attack every aspect of your life. And I have just written down a few here. They will attack your parenting skills, your entrepreneurial skills, your family values. They will go into isolation of your, they will try, so it doesn't always work, but they will try, they will make an effort to isolate you from your other friendships and relationships. So it's isolation of friendships, relationships. It could go as far as they isolate you on, in your workspace, so that they intimidate you in your workspace, and other co-workers will not even be onto them. That is how subtle, that is how cunning, and that is how cruel they proceed. Another thing is the bashing of your children. Now, if you were romantically involved and you're going through a divorce from the narcissist, they will use the children against you. The children will be caught in this whole psychological warfare. And if that means that they have to discredit and bash the children's personalities, they will go for that. They will go for the jugular. But not only in romantic relationships, it can also be in a friendship, in people that you have, in narcissists whom you have befriended. They will go about bashing your children. And as I have said in an earlier video, this happened to me, to my daughter. This was my deal breaker in the friendship that I was going through. When they start attacking your children, and usually it starts with a verbal attack, and they won't always do it directly to the children. They'll go by way of you, as the parent, to bash your children and just, just get at you that way. Just make it a whole painful experience for you. Once again, for me, that was a deal breaker. I mean, you just don't mess with my kids, or my daughter in this case. You just do not take it there. So that is what, that was my third point. And moving straight on to the fourth point, because that is also intertwined, is that the narcissistic parent will bash their own children. Now, coming back to my husband, he went through this, him and his brother, when they were growing up. Their dad, now in hindsight, was a codependent, and his mother was the narcissistic personality. And she just bashed her own children. She did this verbally, and she did this physically. She was very physical with her two boys. Beatings, whether that was with, in stuff in the house. She would take a bread knife and try and cut them with that. She smashed guitars over their little bodies. She would give them gifts and say, if you do not behave yourself, I will take the gift back. So I think I can say that she was just an evil woman. Not on the outside. On the outside, everyone loved her. She was a pillar of strength in the community. She had several businesses. She was a very successful businesswoman. She was very upstanding in her community. But behind closed doors, she was an evil woman. And sadly enough, my husband's brother took his own life 16 years ago. And it was partly due to all of the abuse that he endured as a child. And, when it happened, we didn't realize that this was part of it had had such a devastating impact on him that he could not stand it. He found his peace in drugs, in alcohol, and at some point he just couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't come to terms with the abuse that he had endured as a child, and he sadly took his life 16 years ago. We now realize, what motivated him to get to this point of desperation in his life. And I think the most frightening thing that his mother said, because his mother was alive when he passed away, the most frightening thing she said is, just look at what he's done to me. Just look at all the distress and all the pain he has caused me. He just didn't even think of his mother when he committed this act. Now, doesn't that just silence you? You just have no response to that kind of arrogance and that kind of cruelty coming from your own mother. So instead of her taking accountability, taking responsibility for the abuse that she had inflicted on her two young boys, she didn't. She turned it around and put the blame onto him. And this is just sad, and it's devastating, especially for those who loved him. And, I hope, some way you can relate to this. If those of you who have grown up with narcissistic parents, you understand the degree of evil and the degree of abuse that occurs. Because an outstander, someone looking in from the outside, just doesn't understand it. It is mind blowing. It really is. Wow. So gradually, in the process of months or years that you were in this relationship with a narcissistic person, they gradually rob you of your true and your authentic identity. And they replace this with their false identity. So whatever they are feeling or are not feeling on the inside, this is what they project onto you. And this is their sick way of removing your identity. And yes, you can get it back. You can get back to that place of feeling normal. I think I recall an email that I got, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, where someone asked, do we ever get back to that feeling of being normal? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Absolutely. When you have realized that you have been robbed of your authentic identity, you can backtrack and you can start healing that. This is why I make these videos. This is why I want people to share their story. This is why I share my story and my family's story. Because you can get back to that warm and loving place. You just have to take it every day. You just have to take that little step in moving forward. And sometimes you find that you are stuck in some place. That doesn't matter. Don't look at how far you still have to go. Just look at how far you've come from that place of abuse, from the wounds that you have endured in this abuse. So give yourself time, respect the fact that you have been through very traumatizing situations, and just, go easy on yourself. Take the time in healing, and you will get back to that place. You will be able to reconstruct your own identity. And, there are many tools that I want to share with you. I'm going to get the tools already, and I want to share them with you on in upcoming videos, on how to heal yourself, how to get back to yourself, because the narcissist only took that identity for a small while, and you have every right, and you have the power to take it back. Thank you for watching. This for me was a very emotional video to make. I just hope that it has helped you in whichever way, to realize certain facts about the stuff that you've been through, and to accept those facts, and to make the deal with yourself that you are not going to let these situations get you down, that you are bigger than that, and you can rise above this. You can transcend the abuse. Thanks again for watching, and see you all next time. Bye now.